Welcome back. You tuned into Mid Morning Talk with me, your host, Maria Mia, only on Salam Media. And joining me now, I think, and also rejoicing and I'm sure very relieved, Dr. Singh and Dr. Nagyaga, as well as Advocate Rene Govender. And they're going to give us feedback regarding the court case regarding the court case that I'm told they were victorious in terms of an alternate path. I see a much more relaxed Dr. Jeremy Nayaga this time than when I spoke to him last time. But let me welcome everybody to the program. Good morning, Advocate Rene Govender, and good morning, Dr. Nayaga, and welcome to Salam Media.
Good morning, Mariam. Thank you so much for having us again. Yes, a little bit less tense than the last time. Yeah.
And Advocate Rene Govender, congratulations. I think it was, I was told it was a good victory in terms of Health Professional Council has now, I'm told to revert, but you can just update us to the original pathway that was set prior to the changes. So tell us a little bit about what had happened and what did the court find in terms of the judgment. But before you answer, I just want to welcome, I see Dr. Singh has joined us. Good morning, Dr. Singh, and welcome to Salam Media.
Good morning, Mariam. Thank you so much for having us back. How are you doing?
I'm all good, and I'm just so pleased that in some small way the platform also just assists in terms of garnering support for the campaign as well. But Dr. Govender, you can go ahead and just tell us a little bit what had happened at court and as well as the judgment. Can you unmute your mic, please? Unmute your mic.
Miriam, in short, an action was brought against the HPCSA, and the pathway has been reviewed and set aside. And having said that, and we experience relief that the pathway has been set aside, unfortunately, we are not celebrating right now, because the HPCSA has not indicated whether they wish to appeal that judgment. If they appeal that judgment, it means we go back to the drawing board. And in terms of the legal team of SAIDPA, we did not join into this one action where application was made to the Pretoria High Court to review and set aside the pathway for the simple reason we preferred to wait and then take action in terms of how we would proceed if there was an appeal. So on standby, our legal team right now in Pretoria has an urgent application on the table to suspend the pathway if there's an appeal until the court has reviewed, until the appeal court has reviewed the judgment and then pronounced on the order of the Pretoria High Court, given in the case that was brought before it. So that's one action. The second action is an urgent application in the Pretoria High Court to bring relief in terms of the judgment handed down to various categories of applicants. Mariam, we've had 3 court actions lodged with the Pretoria High Court, and all of these applicants would need relief in some way or the other. And that's the court action that is being prepared at the moment. So whilst there's relief that the guideline has been set aside, reviewed and set aside, we are not out of the woods as yet. We do not have the written judgment before us. We only have the order of that court. And therefore, we are extremely cautious in the way we are moving forward. So the urgent court application that I alluded to bring relief for those who made application to review and set aside the guideline in the Jeremy Nayaga matter, that is being finalized, and hopefully we can launch this action by next week in the Pretoria High Court. So these are the actions thus far. And we are hoping that by the next board exam, at least all of our members who qualify for relief in some way or the other will receive relief.
And
Further,
tell me, go ahead.
further to that, we have an action launched, or we have actions launched with the Public Protector's Office to bring relief to certain categories of our members, so that we avoid constantly looking at court actions when a cheaper, more cost-effective approach might be achieved in terms of the outcomes that we want through the Public Protector's Office. And I'd just like to report on that as well, because there were various questions from some of your listeners after the last after the last meeting that you had with Dr. Matau, I think. We have an action against the HPCSA, or rather a complaint against the HPCSA, to release a list of universities that they recognize. Now, this action had gone on for 2 years, and the HPCSA failed to release a list of universities that it does recognize. And this has an impact in terms of one of our actions on the Savashni Chetty matter, our first action, in that if the HPCSA releases this list, it means that we withdraw our action in the Pretoria High Court, and these applicants then will be given an opportunity to write the next board exam in the urgent application, because they are included there. Then we have a further action. There's a group of rewrites candidates who failed the board exam previously and were ignored this year, especially when the HPCSA set board exams. We also launched a complaint with the Public Protector's Office, and that matter is being attended to. We are waiting for an investigator to come back to us from the Public Protector, so that the process can move forward in terms of an investigation and an outcome. And we have a third action also with the Public Protector for those candidates who wrote the January 2020 board exam, the practical part of the board exam, and who were not successful. And we are very concerned about especially the practical component, because it has been riddled with bribery, corruption, etc. These are rumors and allegations that we have been confronted with, and which we have taken to the SI unit for investigation. In fact, we are still to meet with the SI unit to give them further information, hopefully in the next week or two. Now, these candidates applied to view and have their scripts remarked, so that they were absolutely clear that whatever mark was given to them was what was deserved, or that they could contest why they failed, etc., why they had poor marks. So these are all of the actions that we have. We are waiting for outcomes, and that's the reason why I don't want to celebrate right now. Although there is relief in sight, we have a very long and hard road to walk right now, because the HPCSA unfortunately is cornered. We've called for a commission of inquiry in terms of its dysfunctionality, and right now we don't know how chaotic this processes of setting the board exams, etc., is panning out at the HPCSA. Everyone at the HPCSA seems to give us a different response, a different reason for the cancellation of the last board exam, the practical aspect, and whether or not there's going to be a September examination is something else. So that's the reason why we have this many actions, protecting, firstly, the rights of our members, promoting their interests to write the next available board exam as quickly as they can.
So, Advocate Rene Govender, in terms of timeframes for the HPSA to appeal the judgment, what is the time frame for them, and had you received any communication from their advocates or attorneys in terms of the intention to appeal?
Miriam, they have given us nothing, and in terms of the appeal process, the court will always allow condemnation if the appeal, if the HPCSA does not react in terms of the timeframes. What we are holding on to is that when our instructing attorneys had informed the HPCSA that we are bringing this further urgent application for relief, they indicated to us that they need time to view our submission, and they will come back to us. Unfortunately, they did not keep to the time frame, and that's the reason why we're going ahead. Miriam, it's a case of them approaching the court for an appeal process, and until they do, we have to wait for that. But we are not bound in terms of any process that they may wish to initiate. We've already initiated our process for an urgent application for relief. We have sent them the letter of demand. The time frame is over. We are now finalizing our papers. However, I said we are not out of the woods. If they do take it on appeal, we do have another urgent application that we've prepared. It's waiting now for we are waiting now for them to commence with an appeal process, and we will then launch that action as well.
So, okay, I've got a caller also on the line, and this is Dr. Amira Daraba, and she's from Middelburg. Actually, she was one of the medical students that alerted myself to this issue facing foreign trained South African doctors and health professionals. So I want to welcome her to the program as well. Assalamu alaikum, Amira.
Assalamu alaikum, Maryam.
So you've heard the Advocate Rene Govender has given us a comprehensive overview in terms of the rulings as well as the various court actions that are planned as well and awaiting now the appeal. So can you give us your emotions? I know the last time you sent in a voice note, it was really, really of concern, and you felt there was no direction for you and you were very concerned. Do you feel hopeful now after hearing what had transpired? I know the advocate is cautious, but I would say optimistically cautious now that this is now in public domain as well as in the courts. The matter is in the courts.
Gee, Maryam, as Advocate Govender has said, that we are not celebrating. The court action and all of that is just the tip of the iceberg. I think the crux of the issue is that many of us are just completely frustrated with waiting. Why is it that we have to spend our time and our money on top of what we spent going abroad to study, just to bring us to the courts? Why is it that we have to bring court action just to come home and come and serve our own country? We are ready. We are ready to serve. I'll just give you an example. Myself, along with 5 other graduates, foreign graduates, are currently working at the Nurul Islam facility in Indonesia. We are ready to serve our people. We're volunteering here because what else do we have to do?
Yes, and that is what Dr. Nayaga, you told me last time, that you're good for volunteering at many NGOs or the facilities that have come up in terms of servicing COVID positive patients, and people are really accepting your skills. They see in your capability when you're assisting, but when it comes to registering and being able to earn an income, that becomes an issue. How are you feeling now, Dr. Nayaga? Can you unmute?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, 100% correct. And I still stand very strongly by that. And Miriam, when I say NGOs, I'm talking about very, very established NGOs, the Gift of the Givers, just to name a few, to help them. And they recognize the skill that we do have. It's actually really sad that we are not being used to uplift the government facilities. As I said the last time, the people that really need to be heard are the patients that sit at government facilities because they bear the brunt end of it. And I think the frustration builds up with graduates because we're drawing close to the end of yet another year, an end of another year with unemployment, another year without having a structured lifestyle, another year of having to have been a dependent on parents if um, you are in that situation. And people just want stability. That's what people are asking for. And we understand every frustrated graduate and their parents. I mean, the situation is quite ridiculous. So we are really hoping, as much as there are small victories, we also, just to mention, because I feel it's important that we highlight the victories, we had many of our interns placed this year with the help of MP Naren Singh. And that's also another victory. But we need majority of our membership to get relief, the relief that they deserve.
I've got a question that's come up here on Facebook from Asha, and she says there are very limited seats for board exams. The HPSA have changed their rules to give new applicants opportunity to write board exams. 2 exams have been written this year, but old students that wrote in 2019 did not pass, have not been invited to write. How can this be corrected? New applicants have been given a chance, but these applicants have been ignored. What else can be done, please? And Advocate Rene, you said that's part of one of your applications is precisely dealing with this issue. Am I correct?
Thank you, Miriam. Yes, Miriam, one of the victories that State Park can celebrate with a full, loud, and very strident voice is that through our actions, we have increased, one, the number of board exams written every year, and we have increased the number of seats available to take these board exams. And that for us was a huge victory because previously we only had 120 seats available per year for the board exam. Since 2018, and more precisely 2019, that was increased to 120 per sitting. And the number of board exams has increased from 2 to now 4 sittings per year. Now, who qualifies to write the board exams? The HPCSA has taken a rather or manifested an acute approach compounded by myopic vision in terms of how they are addressing the registration process of foreign qualified doctors. And we found since 2018 that numerous hurdles and challenges have been placed on the pathway of these doctors before they register to write the board exams in South Africa. So yes, that's one of the victories we will celebrate. However, we now have the challenge to look at the category E universities. These are universities not recognized with the HPCSA. Most of our members are first-time graduates at these universities. So there's a process of recognition that needs to happen. And the HPCSA has really delayed these registration processes and review processes to the extent that we were forced to take court actions. Now, Amira alluded to the number of court actions. Why do we have to go to court? We have to go to court simply because the HPCSA is an organ of state. And if an organ of state can behave in this fashion, then obviously we would have to get relief through the courts, make that organ of state do the functions, perform the functions that it should perform. So having said that, I also need to bring to the attention of every foreign trained graduate, whether you're a member of SAPA or not, and also to all non-members who are parents, all members and their parents who are actually non-members of SAPA, that we have a campaign running right now. And the campaign itself is a sorry sight if one looks at it with the perspective of enthusiasm and vibrancy that's needed to motivate for this campaign to move to the extent we want it to move. The campaign was launched almost a month ago. We only have 2,600 signatures. What does it say about the foreign trained graduates, those who have not signed this petition, calling for a commission of inquiry into the dysfunctionality of the HPCSA? We represent, Miriam, 470 foreign trained graduates. Multiply that by 4 and you'll get far in excess of the 2,000 legal signatures that we have. Now, if we are really interested in moving these actions forward, court processes do take time. Yes, urgent applications can be brought, and we are going through that route now. However, we need to put pressure on this government because the HPCSA is not state. If we put pressure on this government, if we continue to send petitions.
Advocate, I'm losing your but in terms of sound, and also time is caught us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask if either Dr. Singh or Dr. Nayaga, if you can just send my producer the campaign in terms of the signatures. Let's see on our part here at Salam Media, we can then share it with our contact list in terms of getting those signatures you require as well. And Dr. Singh, I didn't mean there was a few questions but I'm hoping that maybe in 2 or 3 weeks time we can revisit this to tell us, and hopefully I think the way around is now, even I just last question for Dr. Singh, are you still hopeful you can have a round the table discussion with Health Professional Council instead of long drawn out costly litigation, maybe after this first ruling? Is that a possibility as well?
Amira, I'd like to come up before Dr. Singh. We've made an application to the HPCSA for a bilateral already. They have not responded.
Okay, so that answers this question here. So what we're going to do is let's revisit this in about 3 weeks time or in a month's time, and you can update us, because this is huge interest not only for the individual doctors, but this is for the entire South African healthcare system, because there's almost just under 500 doctors that can be integrated, qualified professional doctors that can be integrated in our desperately needed healthcare system, where you all will definitely make a difference as you are in your capacity as volunteers. So this is not only about individually foreign trained doctors in the interest, but this is of huge interest for South African healthcare as a whole, and also to find out why is this resistance and I don't know, just this resistance by South African healthcare professional council. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully when we catch up in a month's time, pressure will come to bear upon the council, and maybe they'll have to relook their policy and their stance without costly long drawn litigations. I'd like to thank Amira I'd like to thank Amira for joining us online, Dr. Advocate Dr. Jeremy Nayaga, Dr. Singh, as well as Advocate Rene Govender. This platform is always available for you on Salam Media, and we'd like to just, you can just send through all your questions, your comments, and contact details here on Salam Media. Facebook, do engage with us, doctors, and let's create traction and let this campaign, let's create traction and put pressure on government until things are changed. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mariam. Just quickly before we go, I know we're short on time. The website is change.org/doctors4SA. If people can visit that and put their signatures up, that would be appreciated. And also, I must commend you for your interviews and giving us this platform. You really have helped us raise awareness, and we are seeing a difference. Thank you.
Yeah, that is our mission here at Salam Media, an online humanitarian portal. Good morning to all of you, and I wish you every success. And from my side, doctors and advocate, it's a cautious optimism, but optimism indeed that you will prevail. And I will be coming to your practices soon for treatment or consultation. And we're going to take a short break. Thereafter, we're going to be discussing right to repair.